Hi, I'm Catherine Alexander for Ethical Impact L3C, and this is the Sustainable Intelligence blog. The title of today's blog was Laws and Ethics. So I had a discussion the other day at church about immigration because it's an issue that we're committed to, trying to help bringing balance to that question. And many people, I think, resonate with some of the issues that we were feeling as well. While we are really wanting to support people who have immigration as an issue, what is the appropriate way of handling people who've broken the law to come here? The law is one way, a very successful way actually, that we have that helps people deal with situations that would otherwise devolve into violence. So the rule of law is has an underlying assumption of fairness, and it's one of the ways in which countries have actually been able to work together instead of fighting. And we as Americans have been raised to view the rule of law as one of our greatest gifts to the world, although England might have something to do with it as well. But it's a key component of what we think of as being truly American. Yet our hearts break when we see families torn apart. It's an act that's not only cruel, but that it tears at the very fabric of what it means to be a healthy country. So the tension between obedience to the law on one hand and healing and health has put people on sides that I don't think either one is really comfortable with. So much of law has been created by special interests, and those interests can be economic or they can be political. But they're of concern and importance mostly to a very select few. And most of the time, those special interest laws don't impact on the health and well-being of the rest of us. But they are designed to give special rights and priorities to a select few. Now, Adam Smith, when he talks about the invisible hand, at that time was talking about the caring that people normally had, or he believed normally had, for each other, for the economy, for the country. And he believed there was a moral fabric that people chose to be good, to be honest, and that balanced people's desires for stuff. So caring was sort of the invisible hand that he saw balanced the marketplace. But society has changed, and with movement that disrupts relationships, dramatic increases in population, huge movements of populations from one country to another, bringing different cultures. There's a huge difference between the wealthy and the not so wealthy. And with those changes, the fabric of caring has worn thin. So we've tried, in some cases, to address that loss through law, trying to put into laws ways of caring for people. But I think we're barely holding our own with that. And that brings up the question of whether you can actually legislate morality. So without caring, though, is law ethical? And what's the relationship between laws and ethics? I know there are people who confuse the two, who feel, and I've heard companies say this, that what we did wasn't illegal. But we all know that what they did was immoral. And how do you enforce that knowledge? How do you enforce moral consistency, moral values? I feel helpless when people make that statement, because shame, which was one of the balancing factors, is no longer the force that it used to be for all those reasons that I mentioned. So what do we do with immoral and unethical laws? I think this is one of the questions that's at the bottom of the non-discussion we are having about immigration. but it applies to many other issues as well. We've forgotten why laws and ethics are important. Um, we've forgotten, I think, why they've been valued for human communities for centuries. And maybe it's time we begin to remember.